Welcome to Could Be Worse, a comedic literary analysis of dystopian novels. Usually, this time we also include a movie. Given our primary materials, we will be talking about intense and sometimes upsetting subjects. In this episode, we touch on alcohol, cannibalism, violence, human remains, pedophilia, disease, and body horror. We also think it's important to just say up top that this episode inescapably talks about a story that takes place on a train, and there was a very recent derailing local to us. If you are sensitive to any of this subject matter, we, as always, encourage you to interact with that subject matter in whatever way is healthiest for you. Also a reminder that our language remains appalling. Enjoy the show.
Sky smoky overhead, all your friends are dead, and your government heads despise you. Members of the church criticize you. Aliens annexed your country. When the rats or the plague or the bread or the circus or the prevailing lack of a meaningful purpose, if injustice or sadness or robots feel like a curse. Never let you forget. It could be worse.
Okay. Got my very noisy piece of paper. I have my half-dead phone. Welcome, y'all, to the Christmas bonus episode of Could Be Worse.
Hooray!
Do you hear that? That's the beautiful sound of Bridget in the same room as me.
We're in the same room!
It's never once happened on the history of the podcast. So, Bridget, do you want to talk about what we're going to do today and how it differs from our non-bonus episodes?
Yeah, so today we are going to be talking about a graphic novel and a movie.
A film!
A picture. One of those pictures, one of those talkies I hear so much about.
A motion picture, just like the Academy likes so well. So one of the nice things about this is we're going to talk a little bit about the graphic novel, which we read silently in the same room with each other, in probably the best party I've been to all year. But you don't have to have read the graphic novel to enjoy this. So just, if you've seen the film, sit back. Enjoy.
You learn a little bit about the source material, which is hard to find.
Yeah, little tough to get your hands on. But we did it.
Yeah, well, we got our hands on volume 1. There's volume 2 and volume 3.
Yeah.
Which are not, they run in the same universe, obviously, but I feel like one itself is pretty satisfying.
Mm-hmm. And it also covers roughly the same type of events and type of timeline as the film does. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do. A little context for our state of mind for where we're at. We'll post some pictures when we post the episode. But a thing that we did this time, because it was just, it was a movie. Snacking drinkies happened. And we went to Leavenworth yesterday.
Very snowy. Very appropriate.
Extremely snowy. Maybe the worst driving conditions I've ever driven in.
Yeah.
At one point, basically a whiteout.
Yeah. Not necessarily because of amount of snow, but ferocity of wind.
Yeah, because we were coming down the mountain in the dark with just flurries being thrown at us.
Yeah.
And a big old semi-truck right behind me that, thank God, also had to just stop and sort of wait it out for a second. But so I just really feel like I could connect with the source material this time, Bridget. I don't know how it impacted you.
I wasn't driving, so...
I hate that sort of makes me the Wilfred. Let's move on. But when we were in Leavenworth, we got some dessert wine from what?
Plain Cellars, which is, I believe, 15 minutes outside of Leavenworth. Mm-hmm. Although you can just go into Leavenworth and try some of their delightful wines.
Yeah, they were wonderful.
We got their winter
solstice
port, which is appropriate because we're recording this, and then tomorrow, from when we're recording this, is going to be the winter solstice.
We did it. We lined it up perfectly without even trying.
For snacks, though, to go with this delicious dessert wine, you'll be able to see them on our Instagram feed at Could Be Worse Pod, and probably also on our Twitter and on our Facebook page. We decided, because they were like, oh, it's got a nice cherry and nice notes of almond, and we're like, you know what goes with dessert wine that has cherry and almond? Marzipan. And the best part about marzipan is you can mold it. And we decided to make marzipan babies.
Get it? Because in the film, Curtis talks about how he ate babies and it'll haunt him for the rest of his life. So, what better way
to honor such a wonderful picture, which Caitlin and I, this is like my third or fourth time seeing it, but the first time we saw it together.
In a theatre.
In a big old theater, and that was pretty impactful.
Yeah. So, we have imbibed, we are lightly wined, sugar heavily dined.
Very sugar heavily dined.
And we have notes on both. I have very crackly notes on the book, appropriately, is the one that I have on paper. And then my phone is on very low battery, and we're just going to see if all my notes, I can access them. So let's start off with a summary, which we usually have very long and in-depth, and we're just going to fucking wing it.
Yep.
Just going to fucking go. The world got... I mean, so...
There's two different summaries.
Yeah.
Let's start off with the comic book.
Okay. Do you want to...
Yeah, I'll do the comic book. In the world of the comic book, there was a bomb that no one knows who set it off, where it came from, what happened necessarily. There's things that are hinted at. But this bomb set off, and it set off, extremely sudden freezing and winter conditions. It was like that. And we have it opens up with one member from the end of the section, the
tail section.
The tail section, yeah. The tail section has made it up to the third class section, and no one knows how he did it. He's the first person really to ever do so, and so they are questioning him, and they choose to and they third class. So there are actually a total of 4 classes within the comic book. A third class passenger comes in order to demand the freedom of the passenger. The passenger's name being Proloff, I believe. Proloff.
Okay, I believe it.
Proloff. The woman's
copy.
name is Adelaide, and she demands his release. Instead, she is also taken prisoner. And they are questioned. They get to know each other better. At one point, their heads are shaved because they're like, oh, you could be passing on diseases and germs. She's shoved in a quarantine, basically. Mm-hmm. And then the engineer says, I'd like to meet both of them. So they're taken. We see the journey of the train, and Adelaide's release is also demanded by people who want equality for the tail section. They're like, what you've been doing to the tail section is cruel and unusual, shoving them back there with no real resources and living in just a nightmarish condition. And as it turns out, they have a plan, and as soon as they get to the luxury section, basically, as the story goes on, the tail and third class are disconnected.
I'm really enjoying the dystopian vibe the siren in the background is
know.
providing for the darkest section of the tail.
Yeah, and upon learning this, they kind of are fighting to get to the front engine. Well, they're fighting to get to the front engine to stop this. And at some point, and we'll talk about this, Proloff shoots out the windows of the car that they're in. Mm-hmm. And the freezing cold air starts to freeze them both, and the engineer drags him inside of the engine. Unfortunately, Adelaide is left to freeze and die. Bummer town.
Yeah.
And the engineer is dying, and he proposes that Proloff take over his place as the engineer. And meanwhile, in the back, what's been happening is there's been a terrible disease they believe Proloff has been spreading, similar to like a fast-moving influenza. Also get to that later, where basically the train is rapidly dying now. Mm-hmm. And we fast forward in time, and Proloff has taken over the engineer's spot. The cameras are going out, and people are dying in droves, and he's going crazy, being left alone in the train of the car. And that's the end of the book.
So just a corker. So the movie is basically same kind of deal. The world, but instead of it being a bomb that causes the world to explode into a snowball, what we have instead is that global warming has caused us to need to find different solutions for what we're doing to the planet. So we're like, oh, well, we caused the warming of it. Let's just chill it out a little bit with science. And it goes really badly. And snowball. So that was 18 years ago in the world of the film. And same basic idea, but instead of it being one guy who gets to the front of...
who attempts to make it to the front of the train.
Yeah, which he doesn't even really want to go straight to the front. He just wants to escape the tail section.
Yeah.
We have Curtis instead of Proloff, and Curtis is sort of the de facto leader of a revolution where they are genuinely trying to take control of the train to enact more humane policies for how people live on it. And they basically just fight their way to the front of the train. Both stories, it's just a long walk to the front of the train. But with the movie, it's a lot more...
A lot more people die.
A lot more people die, but there's also just a lot more characters that
that you get invested in.
Yeah, the book is and it's a similar thing where he gets to the front of the train, and the man upkeeping the engine in the movie, it's Wilford, Wilford basically just offers him the same job as he had, much like in the book. But in the movie, Curtis doesn't take it, and instead some of the other characters convince him it is the best idea to blow open the train and just have everybody just do the best they can outside.
Yeah.
And it ends with Curtis dead. Pretty much everybody except two people dead, as far as we're aware.
Yeah, Yona and Timmy.
Who are 17 and 5, respectively. And they see
the 17-year-old, by the way, has been in a prison coma for presumably the last couple of years.
Yeah. So that's good. But yeah, they see a polar bear, and unsure whether we're supposed to find that uplifting or not. And so that's the movie. So we're going to kind of talk about the differences, likes, dislikes, and it's going to be a little more freeform than our usual freeform chat.
Yeah.
So some thoughts I had on the book. Some crazy shit. So in the movie, people get high on this thing called krangle, which is like an industrial waste product that is highly flammable and gives you hallucinations. And in the book...
And you can mold it, too.
You can mold it. It's basically... Somehow the engine just makes C4.
Yeah.
It's, but in the book, they call it vape shit or Vapoclean, and it's just a cleaning product. It's a much more normal drug.
It's a toilet bowl cleaner that's gotten out of control. That's like had some chemical reactions to being around for so long, and it's just turned into a drug.
Yeah. There's a bunch of... I just kind of want to do some rapid-fire shit that was different. In the movie, you really get the idea that the people from the front of the train are the only people who think of it as like the train as their god, and Wilford is part of not so much a trinity, but a duology. Duet.
Yeah.
Duet's just what that is. Well, oh no. But and they have a lot of really regimented, ritualized ways that they talk about the train and have specific movements that they do, which is like my favorite. But in the book, everybody calls it like the Holy Loco for Holy Locomotive. And Proloff has kind of a similar worshipful view of the train as the front sectioners.
Yeah, there's also a whole movement of the Brotherhood of the Engine, and they're not necessarily in on the plan, but they do say, "Oh, the tail should be disconnected," not knowing that that's the plan all along.
Yeah.
But the Brotherhood of the Engine aren't even all the way up front; they are second class.
Yeah.
They are not luxury, and they're not third class, but they're in between second and third.
Something that's interesting in the book versus the movie is, in the book, the only person that we see from the tail section is Proloff, and he has no interest in affecting any kind of policy change. But so most of the forward motion comes from he is being dragged to the front of the train by the military, and the end goal of talking to the president of the train is really being pushed forward by Adelaide. And in the movie, it's, Curtis is trying to get to the front of the train to do everything on his own. But sort of a tertiary thing from that is necessarily different between the two of them is that there just is no middle class on the train.
Yeah,
they switched it from being, the book is very much about the military-industrial complex and criticizing that, and the entire movie is just late-stage capitalism.
Yeah.
So there is no middle class to be the moral heart of
this was
also... Which I'm not saying it is, I'm just saying that's what it is in the book.
It's also a French book from the early 1980s.
It's so French!
It's so French.
There's so many tits... And the two, Adelaide and Proloff make out while she's holding his dick so he can pee.
Yeah. And then they laugh about it.
Yeah.
It's extremely French. And, it's just, even, the clothing designs, I'm like, yes, early 80s France.
Yeah.
I see. Nothing's changed.
It's a good time.
Yeah. I will say, they do go into a car where there's movies have been playing, and the movies that were shown earlier that day were Casablanca and Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back.
I also made a note specifically of that.
Yeah. It's gotta show them. Gotta show what is largely considered the best Star Wars movie.
That was also probably, if it was in the early, that was probably a really new movie.
Yeah.
So pretty funny.
Pretty funny.
French comic book artist whose name I'm blanking on right now.
Let me pull it up.
It's Loeb and somebody.
Jacques Loeb. Jacques Loeb wrote the first, Jacques Loeb wrote the first one. That's the one we read. Benjamin Legrand wrote the second volume, and Jean-Marc Rochette wrote the third volume.
Gotcha.
I will say, first of all, they do reveal that Proloff was a criminal.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They absolutely do.
And can I just say, real showing of the hand name, Colonel Crimson is the name of the leader of the military.
Yeah.
Spelled with a K. Yeah, I wonder. And their outfits are very Soviet looking.
My Lord Frenchman, your hand all over that.
The name of the engineer in this one who created the perpetual motion engine is Forrester.
Alec
Forrester.
And the train's name is Olga.
Olga, yeah.
Which is kind of adorable. Also, the engineer in the book sort of forcibly took control of the engine because he heard people kind of talking behind his back in the early days of the train. And so he was like, I need to get myself a little bit of leverage so that I can feel safe. And so he just took the engine and barricaded himself off, and no one really goes in there anymore. but everyone no one really thinks about him. He's not the leader of the train. The president of the train is. He doesn't really make decisions. He just did that as like a self-preservation thing, which the movie Wilford not only takes care of the engine, but invented the engine, and is revered as a god. So that's pretty different.
There's also, so I did want to talk about the disease that Proloff is apparently spreading. So it's signaled by the, first it starts off with a severe headache, and then you have trouble breathing, you have a dry cough, you have pain in your abdomen, and so your chest and your stomach cramps, and then you're very restless. Now, they're like, oh, it's a very serious influenza, but it's like, well, I'm not. Hey guys, I'm no doctor. I don't know. I don't know if you gathered this. I'm no doctor, but generally, because one of the things he points out is like, well, if I was sick, couldn't you tell if I was passing this disease around? However, I went to the WebMD symptom checker.
We've been hanging out the whole time since you do this on the sly, and it is pretty impressive. That's all I'm saying. This has been some stealth note-taking on your part.
So it could be flu, or it could be a fungal infection. Which I feel like is more likely when you have a damp and a wet, cold, dark train in the back, that he could be carrying fungus, that maybe he isn't affected by the spores, but they're spreading, because it's very similar to valley fever, which while usually you pick it up from dust, it is caused by a mushroom. And so a mushroom infection would affect your breathing pattern. You would get a headache. You get feverish with a fungal infection. So
there we are.
Yeah, all I'm saying is crossover of Snowpiercer and Last of Us. Get on it.
Somebody write it. Cool. Yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting because the book definitely frames how they shave Adelaide and Proloff's hair as like more of a humiliation tactic than a legitimate medical concern. And they really, it really feels like it's framed as paranoia about like filthy poor people.
Yeah.
But then nope, that was legitimate. Okay. And the more you hear about how because in the movie, the tale section is like, well, this is crowded, this is hellish, like, there's not enough resources to go around, like, it's pretty filthy, there's, everyone's clothes is just layers and layers of rags.
There's a point at which Timmy asks, because Curtis asks him what he'll give him for the protein block, and he says, in the whole wide train, I want that ball for a whole hour. The ball is just a mass of rags.
Yeah.
Like a rubber band ball, but with dirt and shit.
And you don't see the tail section of the train so much in the graphic novel. But the way that Proloff describes it is like, oh, I would rather die than be there. Which is that, basically what happened is when everyone got on the train, there was a lot of resources back there. It was like they jumped into trains that held food, basically. It was extra provisions. And so they just jumped in and got left alone with food, and it was fine for a while. And then they ran out, and so things got pretty dire in there, and they tried to get into the middle of the train. And basically what the military on the train did was just open the door, shoot most of everyone, and then close the door, meaning there was no way to get rid of any of the bodies. So he describes the tail section. He's like, it's full of dead people. All of them are putrefying. That's the only form of food we have. Hi, let me at some tomatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so also it just kind of like,
let's talk about the mother.
Yeah, that's I had pretty much hit everything that I said that I wanted to talk about except Mama.
Let's talk about Mama.
So
it's not here's the thing, it's not a completely foreign concept to me, the idea of the mother. So the mother, Caitlin just gave me a look.
No. It was horrified realization. It wasn't startled revelation about you.
So the mother is a giant mass of quivering meat that's like can regenerate
Hi.
and grow.
We're straight back to the horror of the open air beef farm and feed.
Yeah, and there's the one of the workers notes, hey, when a blade goes up against it, it flinches, meaning that there is some sentience to the mother. And I don't know if I spoke about this. Did I speak about antiviral and feed?
I don't know.
Okay, because there's a similarity there where Antiviral, great movie, highly suggest it. I will not spoil the end for you. It is so amazing. It is really, really gross though. If you have, I'm assuming you wouldn't watch Snowpiercer if you had a problem with blood, but there is a lot of blood and really grotesque body horror in Antiviral. Mm-hmm. It exists in a world where celebrities are revered so much that people want to. You can consume them. They take the DNA. They basically synthesize the celebrity flesh, the flesh of your favorite celebrity, so you can eat them.
Is this a graphic novel?
It might have been, but it's a movie. It's a movie starring Caleb Landry Jones, whose career is...
I love Caleb Landry Jones.
Just taken off.
Yeah.
So proud of my little redhead baby.
What a good friend we have in Caleb.
Yeah. So, but the other thing, and that's what his job involves, is people want to consume celebrities. People also want their diseases. The specific strain of a disease that a celebrity has had. You want the syphilis that, Matt Damon has had. Congratulations, you can get it. You want the common cold that Britney Spears had. Good, here you go. Like, you have to pay a lot of money to get it, but you can get infected. Like, everything from, like herpes, gonorrhea, just mostly STDs, but, like life-threatening diseases, too, that celebrities have had.
Just like an awful, awful bug party.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's antiviral, but they synthesize the flesh of the celebrities, and it's really, really gross.
Yeah, I'm going to be sitting with that one for a while.
It's a really good movie, though. I love it. It's one of my favorite, I guess, horror movies. It's a bit of a horror movie.
Yeah, you fucking think? What else would that be classified as?
I also watched it while I was really, really sick.
Oh, good. I mean...
Which is it's a very weird place to be in.
I have the virus?
While you're watching a movie about people actively seeking to be sick.
Bridget, give me your bugs. I'm so sorry. And that was it. That was the joke that ended the friendship.
So, let's talk about... Let's talk about the movie.
Yeah. I have so many more notes about the movie.
Same.
I've always loved that right at the top they invoke chemtrails. I love conspiracy theory, so this was a real treat to me when I first watched it. The idea, and it just when I say they invoke it, I mean like they affirm it as firmly as they fucking can, because they were like, yeah, let's do some shit to the environment. Chemtrails. That's just a personal bit of fan service to me that I wanted to shout out. And also at the end, it kind of nicely caps it because Ed Harris as Wilford, the sort of rationale that he puts forward about how the train functions as a closed ecosystem is very much sort of the basis of the idea of what the New World Order is supposed to do, which is just overpopulation is a huge problem. We need to depopulate the earth. And so it does kind of put an interesting stress on what that would mean to maintain a healthy population in this regimented and absolute way. But that is also conspiracy theory. So the movie is just fully parenthesized.
It's let's just get in here.
Yeah. Anyway, that was just my little niche corner.
So, we open up at the tail section, and there's a part that I think is super funny. I'm gonna bounce around, obviously, from end and beginning to movie. Mm-hmm. So, Curtis at one point says, he shouldn't worship me. Him being Edgar, which is kind of Curtis's second in command, his little buddy. And presumably Edgar's supposed to be 20. We find out later Edgar is the baby that Curtis killed his mother and almost ate Edgar, and then Gilliam cut off his arm to stop them from killing the baby. And a bunch of other people cut off limbs, and they were eating those for a while before they got the protein blocks.
Yeah, just a really heartwarming family film is what we're saying.
Yeah, and so Edgar reveres Curtis as, like, this hero. And it's like, hey, Edgar, how far back can you remember?
There's something adorable about it that reminds me of Peter Pan. Because there's, like, a character...
that part where Peter Pan kills everyone's parents.
Yeah, he would. Here's the thing. If you're
I know, yeah.
Yeah. Readers, I highly suggest that you actually read the novel. It's horrifying. Peter has screaming nightmares that he can't be woken from. He, like, can't remember things half the time. So sometimes, it, like, directly says sometimes he would come home and tell stories of this glorious battle. You go out, you wouldn't find any evidence. And sometimes... he wouldn't say anything, and then you'd go out and find the body. That's legitimately almost a direct quote. There's this whole thing about to get into the home under the ground. He, like, finds a tree for you to, like, slide down into under the ground, but he doesn't find a tree that fits you. He finds a tree that works, and then the ominously vague phrase, he does something to you, and then you fit, is used. So I'm just saying, Peter Pan... is horrifying, and yes, I would like to talk about it in relationship to Snowpiercer. But one of the Lost Boys always talks about how he remembers life before Neverland, and that's just what Edgar reminds me of, being like, yeah, I totally ate steak. No, you fucking didn't, Edgar! You're a little baby!
You were 2, 3 at the most.
What kind of fucking top hat, monocle wearing, Irish baby? Also, how do you have an Irish accent when your Irish mom died and you're surrounded by...
there's also a train baby girl at one point. She's a little bitch.
Yeah, I love her, though.
Yeah. I heard the trade people are filthy. And she has, like, a weird British accent. It's like, you wouldn't have that.
Well... Here's the thing. I think that people who were raised by their parents would have that, so a front sectioner makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Than like, well, I was born of an Irish mother, so my my tongue knows how to talk this way.
I will also say, so Curtis does say he was 17 when all that happened.
Yeah.
He was a senior in high school.
A young tough.
So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
I also liked, I kind of hadn't noticed this line. Like I said, I've seen this movie 3 or 4 times. I hadn't noticed Gilliam saying, I'm a shadow of my former shadow, which is really funny, because Gilliam, shadowy motherfucker.
Oh, shady as shit.
Yeah, he's the shadow controller of the back of the train.
Yeah. The motherfucker.
He's a double agent. So
can I talk about a thing? It's not going to be super comfy. So they kind of make this implication when Wilford has the kids come to the front of the train, and like Wilford needs the kids to be mechanical pieces, basically literal cogs in the capitalist wheel. But there's like a very light sort of inference that maybe like, you know, Wilford likes kids.
Yeah, that's what she says. And it's like, ooh.
Yeah, but here's the fucking thing. Gilliam is the Wilford of the caboose.
Yeah.
Which is too funny a word to be used at any other point in this podcast episode. But he's a Wilford of the caboose. And there's this whole thing, and it's like implied kind of in the movie, but very easy to miss. But like, has been confirmed in interviews.
The director, the director confirmed
that Gray, who's the buff tattooed mute, the buff tattooed mute who is really good at murder, from the tail section. He's very young. He's maybe Edgar's age, and like.
He's younger than Edgar.
Yeah, so
because he's a trade baby.
Yeah, so he's under 18. Gilliam is old as fuck, and they describe it as a May-December romance. Motherfucker, that's a February-December romance at best. Like, and I am deeply uncomfortable with it.
Yeah. I think he described it as, I forget the name of it in, like, Greek society. Ancient Greek.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. It's not great at all. It's not good.
Yeah, no.
It's not even okay.
It's not even in any way. And also just the fact that Gilliam's like, yeah, you know, please go up in the front of the train to die now.
Can I just say...
Child who I've been... yeah.
Yeah. Can I just say, Gray, I love Luke Basquiat so much.
So good.
Such a wonderful boy. I love how, like, I mean, obviously he has to show people his surrender or die tattoo. Mm-hmm. God, I need that tattoo. That'd be such, like, a badass thing that'd also be, like, kind of a niche reference.
Mm-hmm. Which is exactly what you want to tattoo.
Yeah.
No one will understand this, and there are very few situations in which I can use it to full effect.
But there's every time he fights, he's just like, let me just shrug off my coat. And it's so funny.
Yeah.
Because he's wearing a giant, like, parka coat.
Yeah.
And he's like, let me just shake it off.
He's wearing this, like...
And tracksuit bottoms.
Here's the thing. He's wearing, like, a serial killer coat and, like, fuckboy pants. That's the Grey look. I mean, God bless. Love Grey. Can we talk about the arm freezing scene?
Yeah, so that was... We're kind of doing a little bit of a spin on our usual stuff. Mm-hmm. Our usual... that, hey, it could happen, and you're doing amazing, sweetie. I would say this is that fucking couldn't happen moment of the arm freezing, that it wouldn't affect it wouldn't kill the rest of him. That, like, you could isolate a limb, and it would not severely impact...
It wouldn't, like, creep up.
Yeah, it would not just it wouldn't creep up. It doesn't matter how much of an airtight seal that you get on it. The fact of the matter is, your blood vessels don't just stop. It goes to your brain.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm no doctor, but I'm pretty sure, like...
If a part of your body freezes solid. Here's the thing, though. I think at a certain point it would, like, create, like, a natural tourniquet with, like, the swelling and shit like that.
It's still, like, it just doesn't seem possible.
I think there are things in the movie later on that are far more impossible.
Yeah.
And there's something deliciously intriguing about the arm scene that I would like to get into a little bit.
Okay.
So in the graphic novel, there's a very brief moment where they talk about... They're just like, yeah, so they set this bomb off, and thank God there was this train close by that had all of the supplies that we needed to survive in here, and it was perpetual motion, and it was exactly the oasis that we needed. And Perloff is like, yeah, sure. What providence? It definitely wasn't planned so that all the fucking military folks were in the same area as the one thing that could save them. Crazy. And the character he's talking to is like, no, it wasn't on purpose. It wasn't on purpose. It had to be an accident. And in the movie, there's no fucking way. Like, I've always, from, like, the first time I saw it, it's just, like, I sat with it a long time. But I always felt that the movie was implying that, like, Wilford was behind the seeding of the atmosphere.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he strongly implies it.
And also, every fucking thing about that train is designed for the society
he wanted to create.
That's living in there. Because, like, why is there a fucking arm-freezing porthole? Why is there, like, everything is designed for specifically the type of violence that is in the train. And, like, the phones, the secret phone line that only connects the front and the back of the train. And the fact that no one is, like, people in the fucking tail section would notice if a new tail sectioner appeared suddenly in the middle of all this murdery cannibalism. As opposed to non-murdery cannibalism. Whatever. But, so, like, Gilliam didn't just, like, crop up. He was fucking planted very early on. And so it's just, the arm scene is the thing that you just cannot get over. in terms of, yup, this was planned. Which is sort of a lightly open question in the book, but, like, there's no fucking way with the movie.
Yeah. There's also, one thing that always has bothered me is the way the train cars are set up in the movie. Mm-hmm. Some of it just don't make no goddamn sense, because you go directly from, the first one that makes no sense to me is, like, the fact that you go from the meat car into the school car. That those are the ones right next to each other.
It wasn't the aquarium?
No, because they're going through the meat car, and she's like...
No, I mean, the aquarium wasn't what got you. It was the meat to a school pipeline.
Yeah. Because, well, why would you put those two next to each other? But the front of the train is what really gets me, because we go directly from... There's a rave car. Mm-hmm. You know, every train. Gotta have a rave car.
I always make sure I book my place.
In the rave car.
In the rave car.
And then there's a car that is just a bunch of, like, holes in the ground surrounded by stones and, like, foggy light where people are just lying around naked in fur coats getting high off of Chronol.
Just because I haven't ever been able to afford that car in a train, Bridget, does not mean that car in the train does not exist.
But then, immediately after, is the train car with all the security systems in it.
Yeah. No,
like,
you're
all
right.
the servers for the security systems are right next to, you know, where the high people are. The people who are on a hallucinogenic drug. Ooh, hard to say. So they're on a high... And then, after that, this very dangerous pre-engine car. Part of the engine.
You are telling me you do not keep your social security card, your gun... and your ayahuasca in the same 3 drawers.
I don't.
Is what you're saying. Well, we're different, I guess.
They're all in the same drawer. Which one am I going to pull out? Who knows?
It will determine the rest of my day. I think the thing that is most infuriating to me... It's not infuriating. Here's the thing. I fucking love this movie. It's one of my favorite movies. But... there's just an undeniable thing about it where it just makes no fucking sense. The book, the graphic novel that we read, is very strongly based in world building and talking about kind of like the policy and like making it seem really, really hellish. And it's not... it's an extreme situation, but they don't represent an extreme spectrum of lifestyles on the train. Like in the movie, they have fucking sushi... They have sides of beef hanging up everywhere. They just like
the mother makes more sense, and so does the rabbit farm.
Yeah, there's like decadence in the movie, and that's not true of the book. Like the mother is horrifying. Rabbits are an interesting choice because you can literally die from malnutrition while eating rabbits. So I'm very curious about that particular.
They also eat mice. Like they know they eat mice.
Yeah, but it's just very interesting to me that was a pick that they did. But it's tries to be realistic for the extremity of the hypothetical.
Yeah.
The movie does not, even a little bit, which is evidenced by the fact that someone just comes back to life and another person is just a little bit magic.
Oh yeah, they're both clairvoyant.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. And like that fucking shooting scene is very cool, like where they're trying to shoot from across this U-turn that the train is on.
I just say, it does that part, him being alive at all, at any point in the movie, is just really brings home a thing that I have a problem with in a lot of movies, which is, you let them live? You idiot! Kill everyone! Kill all your enemies! Why would you let any of them live, you idiot? You idiot!
I knew this rage was inside of you. I didn't know this was how it was going to come out, I guess.
I mean, here's how mad I've gotten at movies before for letting people live. There is a scene, okay, and this is gonna be very alienating for some people. There's a scene in the movie Children of the Corn.
Okay.
Where our lead male character is fighting Malachi, the big redheaded kid.
Yeah.
Who can really do some damage.
Uh-huh.
He knocks out the big redheaded kid who's been trying to kill him as, like, we've seen him kill other people in the movie so far. Mm-hmm. And you know what he does? He just knocks him out, lays him down, leaves a big old wrench next to his head, and is like, see you later, kid, bye!
I mean, Bridget, he's still a boy.
They've killed hundreds of adults!
He's just a man not yet old enough to vote, is what that little red-headed friend is. Would you... Bridget?
Caitlin?
I'm just saying, just because you will rule the wasteland of the future with an iron fist doesn't mean all of us are quite ready to kill a violent teen at the drop of a hat.
I'm just saying, leave no survivors. If you are staging a revolution on a endless train, you have to, and you're like, oh, let me leave this person I know who's super dangerous. And especially, okay, once they get to the sauna, that's when it really sticks. Because
but he should have done. They did kill him. He just came back.
But you know what? It's the same. You know, I hate using the Zombieland quote, but you always got to double tap.
Do you?
You know how
using it?
I don't, because you know what you got to do. If you're ever like, just cut that throat open, just to be safe. Just to be safe. Just to be safe. Cut it down to the bone, and walk away.
For legal purpose, hypothetically, how many times have you run into this situation, Bridget?
I'm just saying, you plan for everything.
Okay. Point take. I don't disagree that in this particular film, with this particular character, he should have been murdered quite a bit sooner.
Quite a bit sooner, and even if not sooner, better. Because a strangulation with just like a pipe across the windpipe.
Yeah, I mean... He, died, though. It wasn't even that he was, faking. Here's the thing. It wasn't even like he was faking it until they left. They were gone for, a hot fucking minute before he, twitched back to life and was like, the plot needs me. This isn't on the characters as much as it is on the fact that, a very talented director took a... sort of grimdark realism in a fantastical setting French graphic novel and turned it into a beautiful little fairy tale, and by beautiful I mean horrifying.
Yeah. I'm just saying. That bothers me about everything.
It's fair.
The thing that bothers my mom about movies is when there's I'm 25 and I'm the head editor-in-chief of a magazine.
Yeah.
That bothers my mom. I'm bothered when people leave their enemies alive.
To your mother, I would simply say Tavi Gevinson. But, fair point. I will never stop loving 13 going on 30. Anyway, I had a thing.
Oh god, the fish slip is really funny. So in the...
This movie, I forgot, but this movie's got jokes.
In the terrifying battle... on the, is it the
Yekaterina.
The Yekaterina Bridge and Tunnel, when they're in that battle scene. First of all, the dipping, that's normal. As normal as
Look, every time I go into an axe battle, the first thing I do is anoint my blade in the tummy of a fish.
Because you know what? You're giving your blade a taste of blood, so it's hungry for more.
Yeah. Fish has died. Fish has risen. Axe will kill again.
So they drop that fish, of course. What are they going to do? Smack someone in the face with it? Although it's a pretty sizable fish. You could probably break a nose with it.
Yeah, he's a big boy. And
then Curtis just banana peels it like a member of the Three Stooges in slow motion.
It's like a very high quality vine is how it plays. It is 7 seconds of pure delight. Yeah, that was really fucking fun. Tilda Swinton's performance is out of control.
As Minister Mason is just...
Yeah, it's the greatest. There's also... That was one of the first things that I have...
Rumble, rumble, rattle, it will never die.
Rumble, rumble, rattle, rattle.
Rumble, rumble, rattle, rattle, it will never die.
Dab. Tilda Swinton's accent and the speech at the beginning was the first in many, many, many notes that I have taken just about how strongly this movie's fuck capitalism. Because Tilda Swinton's accent is not exactly posh. It's northern, right?
It's extremely northern.
Yeah.
I believe they say it's Lancashire is the accent, is where the accent, because I guess she did an interview. Everyone was like, why that one? And she's like, that was the first person, basically the first person that she knew growing up who was in authority, who was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And so she was like, oh, hey, what do you think of this accent? And the director was like, great.
Perfect.
Love it.
But the note that I took about it, and we're just going to come across Caitlin's angry economics essay notes from time to time throughout here, but there's an entire essay's worth of thoughts just floating in the ether waiting to be thunk about Tilda Swinton's accent being lower class but in a high power position, symbolizing upward mobility and capitalism, but being the person telling the lower class to stay in their place. Right?
Yes.
There's like at least 5 pages.
There's a good old think piece.
Yeah.
In there.
Also interesting to me that the idea with the arm freezing, that so like it is taking people's limbs from them, and which is sacrificing your limb to the community was a way that you showed care in the tale section, and like that was co-opted as a punishment under the capitalist oppressors. So not only did it take your arm as like corporal punishment, but also it's like, yeah, you don't get like the resource of that arm. And also we're going to take this thing that you do for each other and do it just to punish you.
Yeah.
Another 3 pages, maybe not quite as rich because there isn't the historical element of the accent. Let's just scroll through our...
I will also say, you could also probably slip in some stuff, maybe a little bit about Yona's mom, who is the maid who is at the front of the Frozen 7. Did you not know that?
What the fuck?
Yes.
That's her mom?
That's her mom. Her mom was a Inuit woman who served as a maid in the front of the train, which is why Yoda's father, I'm going to fuck up his name.
No. His name's Nom.
Yeah, Nom specifically shows her the Frozen 7 because he wants her to know, hey, there's your mom.
So the director
has confirmed that that's her mom.
Bong Joon-ho.
Bong Joon-ho, yeah.
An auteur of the highest order.
Yeah.
I need to fucking track down some interviews with him about this film because apparently he had a bunch of headcanons that he didn't put in the fucking text.
I'd say it's pretty well established because it's implied at least because there is that Nam knows so much about this woman who's at the front of the Frozen 7. He knows so much about her and her knowledge.
You know what I assumed? I assumed that she was like his caretaker.
He was not always addicted to Kronel. That's the thing.
No, I know,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying, I don't mean like he was his like adult minder. I mean like I sort of just assumed that like that was someone that he knew from like his youth for some reason. That was what my head came up with. And
No, that was basically his wife.
Okay, well, I feel like a real idiot. That's how I feel.
And she died when Yona was 2.
Oh.
Because Yona's 17 and the uprising was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 2 or 3, so. More kids losing their parents at a young age.
It's true. So an interesting thing is that in the book, it says repeatedly that there's 1,000 cars. In the movie, there's definitely like 25 tops.
Yeah.
Like, it shows so many, but they only, like, go through a handful, right?
Yeah, just the cars that are, like, kind of interesting. Like, presumably, at some point, they've walked through the car that has all the cows on it, and, like, the livestock cars, too.
Where's the goddamn cows? Something that I thought that the movie could have benefited from visually that was in the book is in the book there's a observation deck that they go up in There's like a little bubble on top of one of the cars, and I thought that would have been really cool.
Yeah. We get it a little bit in the pool seat when they're in the pool and they're shooting across the curve at each other, because you do kind of get to see everything in there.
But there's something about the fact that, like, when they were in the little observation bubble, they could look over the top of the train and see to the engine. There was something about that up top view that I felt like really could have got something out of that.
Yeah. I will also say, I did want to mention, in the sauna scene, man, some serious stormtrooper aim going on there.
Yeah, that shit, like, how did...
Like, I know you know, guns are, you know, you got a lot of kickback, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I don't understand. I do not understand how he didn't hit him, like, directly after he killed Gray, at the very least.
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense.
He was just standing there.
Yeah. I, again, love the movie. I just, like, go into it every time since the first time I watched it with, like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. I don't give one single shit. Because
there's so many things that don't make sense.
Literally.
The butcher car. Why do they all have rain slick coats just at the ready?
Yeah. But genuinely, every single thing that does not make sense is worth it for how fucking zany and extra that, like, classroom scene is.
God.
It's
Allison
such a treat. She is divine in that scene. When she's
Another
playing
thing
that psalm about Wilford and
the
it's
organ
like
is
going
spinning.
around, the organ is spinning around, and she kind of like throws her head back, and like you can just see a little bit of the white of her eye as her eyelashes just flutter with passion. It's so good.
So I don't know. You obviously you haven't been reading the interviews or anything. She has met Wilford.
Uh-huh.
That is his baby.
Wait, that's his daughter?
No, that is his baby.
Oh, the baby she's pregnant with?
Yes.
Fucking... Where... Are there, like, deleted scenes about this? Or is
No,
this just,
the director
like, all
has
the
just,
characters
like...
hung out together?
The director has, like... He's talked about, like, the movie Bible and has said, like, the people that he slept with... He says he's for sure slept with... the teacher... She has a name. I just don't remember it right now.
Yeah.
Claude, which is his assistant.
Yeah.
Whew! She's a piece of work.
I love her, though.
I love when she, like, tastes her own blood, because she's like, oh,
Yeah.
this, I've never... Huh.
My blood's never been outside my body.
And also, the egghead.
The egghead?
That's what he's referred to, the guy who has the New Year's eggs.
Yeah, what's some headcanons?
Oh, Wilford fucked him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wilford taking a tour of the train.
Yeah.
Having a little tasting. I understand. Well, that's good to know.
Probably also would have tried to sleep with Curtis.
I mean, who wouldn't,
Who
though?
wouldn't?
Like, my boy. The one thing that I do know that's, like, behind the scenes about this movie, is that Chris Evans was just too fucking beefy. And so what they had to do is they're like, we gave, to give him a look that he was layered, we literally just put him in a sweater and a jacket, but cut off the sleeves of the sweater because he couldn't wear both at the same time without busting seams. And they were just like, all of the layers that everyone else has, you assume are underneath there, but it's all beef. It's
an all beef patty.
Yeah. It's
all beef, all American patty.
which I just love. And the whole time I'm watching that movie, I'm like, you are wearing a muscle tank made out of wool, sir.
You're wearing a sweater vest under there, and it's disgusting.
We all know that you're straight Doug Funnying right now, buddy. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. I just have, it's a couple of notes about the movie as, like, a regular viewer, and then just, like, a shit ton of notes where I'm, like, just in all caps, we're all trapped in the man-made order of things. Capitalism is a closed ecological system. I just kind of went into a weird headspace.
You went weird there.
I would like to say that a really interesting thing about reading the graphic novel and then watching the movie is that it reminded me of the Cloverfield franchise, because the difference in tone between, like, Cloverfield and 10 Cloverfield Lane and the Snowpiercer graphic novel and the Snowpiercer film, like, it's that big of a gap.
Yeah.
It's very different, even though they have kind of mirror-y stories. That's all. Do you have any further
I
notes?
will say we did want to do, instead of the "You're Doing Amazing, Sweetie."
Yeah, who's the fucking worst?
Who's the fucking worst?
You're doing amazing, sweetie? Or you fucking monster.
You fucking monster.
Yeah.
God, I mean, the movie is just chock-a-block full of fucking monsters.
Who to pick, really.
Who to pick.
So we've, in our episodes with the You're Doing Amazing, Sweetie, I feel like we've gotten closer and closer to our definition of what a sweetie is, which is someone who is just, like, pure of heart, even if they don't always do the right thing. Like, they're just kind of, their natural inclination is pretty good. And they're not, like, a badass. They're, like, a little sweetie pie. Like, they're someone you want to protect. So let's inverse that and, really narrow down who in this horrible, horrible world is the opposite of a sweetie.
So, if they're, you know, I guess it would be someone who's, like, actively trying to make.
Yeah, so it's someone who does violence, is physically capable, I would say. Because, like, Wilford for sure does violence. He is the ultimo oppressor.
Yeah, but he's removed from it.
Yeah.
By the way, can I just say, so there's the part where he said where he likes kids, and then we don't see the kids for a while. When I first watched it in the theaters, I don't know if you remember me telling you this, I did think, especially because it comes right on the tail of, I know babies taste the best.
Yeah.
I did think he was maybe eating the children.
Yeah, like that steak, which they did a couple lingering shots on. You were just like, Timmy, no. Timmy, no. Timmy! You were the cutest child that's ever been on a screen. Timmy, come back.
Well, Tim.
So someone who is violent.
It's gotta be Mr. Clairvoyance.
I don't know. He's not that interesting, though. I just feel like our monster.
I will say
has
there
to
is
be
like
interesting.
this. There is like an element of like grief to his
there's something
dog in
human about
pursuit
it.
because he has that buddy who gets
it's
murdered.
His son, isn't it?
Is it his son?
I thought it was his large puppy son.
Maybe
his large violent puppy son. I would submit maybe Eggman.
Eggman, yeah.
Because he's very violent, and also he's delighted by his violence.
He's delighted by it, and he's also kind of like simpering when he gets on the phone with Wilford, and it's... Ugh.
I'm gonna look up this actor's name because I think he deserves a by name shout out, because that's not a huge role, and he makes it really, really memorable.
And gross.
Yeah, so...
Especially when he pops the whole fucking egg in his mouth like an animal.
Yeah. And just has... Why did I genuinely just type in train spotting when I was trying to look up this fucking movie? Is that what I think this is? Do I think this is a fucking game?
Oh yeah, you were right. They are, it's Franco the Elder and Franco the Younger.
Boom! I do know 3 bits of trivia.
It's Thomas Lemarquis as Egghead. Sure. He was also in the new Blade Runner movie. Still haven't seen it. And X-Men Apocalypse. He's an Icelandic actor.
Oh, fucking twist. Come on, where are you, Eggman?
I do not know who he played in either.
Thomas Lemarquis. What else has he been in? This has become the Thomas Lemarquis fancast. What else?
Oh, he played Caliban in X-Men Apocalypse. And
he did not. Oh, X-Men Apocalypse. Sorry.
Apocalypse.
I was thinking of Logan, and I got very angry because I was like, that was our good friend Stephen Tallman. Stephen Big fella.
Yes.
Stephen McBrit.
Yeah.
Stephen, what the fuck was his name?
Oh.
Stephen.
You guys know the one. The Wheatley fella. Steven.
You know, Steven. Are we on the same page here?
Tall, blonde, gangly.
I can't look him up because I don't know his name. He
Hello,
worked on The
ladies
Office.
guy.
Stefan. Oh no.
Looks like you could, if you really put your mind to it, you could probably break him pretty easily.
Stephen Merchant.
Steven Merchant.
The Merchant of Stephen.
Yeah.
I feel so embarrassed. I love him. He's so good.
He's a bit of a shithead, but he's a very good writer.
Shithead?
He's a bit of a shithead.
Oh, I didn't want him to be a shithead.
I know.
I wanted him to be a pure good boy. I wanted him to be my tall ray of sunshine.
He's not terrible.
Oh, well, that's good. Okay, I'm over it. It's fine.
He's a bit of an asshole. Hello, ladies. Ugh, what a nightmare of a show.
Now I'm just scrolling through my notes about how terrible this child labor reliant nightmarescape on Rails is on my shiny rose gold iPhone.
Oh, there is also the moment where Curtis does sacrifice his arm to save little Timmy, and he finally gets to have that peace before he dies of, I did the right thing.
This movie is very strongly about introducing an idea and then immediately mirroring it in some sort of satisfying narrative, meaningful way. Because he just outside the door confronts that's he voices that's his failing. He's able to bring that forward and then immediately confronts it. And also in the scene, I almost call it the fish scene, in the scene where everybody dies in the fucking fish car, they do this thing where they have Gray come forward and do surrender or die to that train announcer. And he asks Tilda Swinton, who, yes, the character name is Mason, but the entire time Mason is on screen, you're like, hello, Tilda Swinton, McQueen.
It's based off of, I believe, the male character in the book, in the graphic novel, who has access to all the books. He's the keeper of the books.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because throughout they refer to, when they call Minister Mason something, they say sir, and they call her a bastard.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting, is that she's supposed to be kind of this, surprise, surprise, Tilda Swinton, gender neutral, gender swinging being.
Yeah.
Wow. So shocked. Being not on the gender binary, played by Tilda Swinton. Who would have guessed it?
It's true. But when Mason lets the train announcer die, as a sacrifice to letting the fight continue so that Mason can win, it is immediately followed by Curtis letting Edgar die in order to continue the revolution.
Yeah.
Thus drawing a sort of inescapable comparison between the two. And I just, in this particular viewing, which has to be probably my 6th, roughly, I just kind of noticed how many moments there were where Bong Joon-ho is just like, hey, I'm going to introduce an important character realization and then follow it through and take you as the audience to the next step in realizing who these people are and where this story's going. And I just thought it was very good, Bridget.
Yeah, he's like, I won't deny you anything.
Yeah, I'm just going to complete
Here's
the thing. I will deny you several very important explanations, but in terms of the logic of storytelling, not necessarily the logic of a world, but this a sense movie of narrative, fucking delivers.
A sense of narrative completion.
Yeah, it's Here's the thing that's really interesting. The movie is very literary. The graphic novel is very literal. It's really interesting. Which is not to say that the graphic novel is without artistry.
Yeah.
I just think that there's a lot of beautiful narrative play in the movie, and I just think that the graphic novel has other goals. Yeah, so we decided on Egghead.
Egghead, yeah.
For our monster. The magic and the medical specifics of the arm freezing, hey, it can't happen.
Yeah.
And I think we have officially made our first Dark Side of the Moon episode. the bonus content you've been dreaming of, where we stop fucking reading books and start looking at pictures.
Are they moving? Why not both?
Let's knock that brow down one level.
I will also say, I highly recommend this movie. It's a really good movie. If you listened to this and didn't watch it,
weird choice.
You made a weird choice there, buddy. It's really good. I watched it last year with my family because they were like, oh, let's watch a movie. And I'm like, oh, let's watch Snowpiercer together. They still yell at me about it. They were so mad. They were really looking for a lighthearted film, and I put on Snowpiercer.
I showed my family Snowpiercer shortly after you and I watched it. And my family has not stopped thanking me. It was one that the whole family could enjoy. So
my family likes when I direct them towards a more lighthearted effort, or at least something without so much death.
That's fair.
What did they watch recently?
Most of the people in the world die in this movie.
Yeah. What's the last movie that they said? Oh, Colossal. I made them watch Colossal, and they really did enjoy that.
Oh,
Another good movie to enjoy.
Should we recommend some kind of lighthearted romp for our audience to follow this with?
Yeah. If it's your first time viewing Snowpiercer and you listen to this and you're like, oh, still kind of a bummer, I would recommend watching, let's see here. You know, I always like to follow it up with a little bit of cartoonage.
Me too.
So how about you find yourself some classic Dexter's Lab?
Interesting choice. I was going to go with the complete opposite of this film, My Neighbor Totoro.
Ah, okay. So yeah, you're looking for a movie.
Yeah, I'm looking for sunshine, first of all, warm weather. I'm looking for a delight in other human beings, and I am looking for green growing things on this planet.
I'm just looking for a barrel of laughs, baby. Get that omelette du fromage episode up in your biz. The one where the one where Dexter and like a bunch of other people grow beards.
I have seen pictures of that on the internet.
Yeah, that's a good one. Any of the Agent Monkey episodes? Agent Monkey, we need your help. You know,
all of this is very relatable to me. I definitely watched this as a youth.
It's a real Gennady Tartakovsky treat, or you could watch one of his many other things. I wouldn't watch Samurai Jack directly after this. Oof. You know, honestly, I really enjoyed the first Hotel Transylvania movie. And you know what? When you watch it, lets people know, hey, we want that Popeye movie, Gennady.
I definitely have enjoyed one of the pop songs that is associated with the Hotel Transylvania series, though I've not seen the films.
It's just, I've seen the first and second. They're just fun.
I believe it.
So fun.
I love anything Selena Babyface Gomez is involved in.
And Andy Samberg's in it.
I didn't know that. See, we're all learning something today, listeners. We are gonna go. But this has been a real treat. We're gonna see if we can maybe do some more bonus episodes. We're maybe gonna try to do a live show somewhere in Seattle.
Because it's convenient for us and we don't have to buy plane tickets.
Because guess who's back in the state? It's Bridget.
I'm back in God's country.
Yeah, back in the tsunami zone. Whoop, whoop. Okay. Thank you very much for engaging with our bonus content. Have a wonderful time.
Have some happy holidays and a very happy new year.
Yay! We'll see you in it. Bye. Bye. Thank you for listening to Could Be Worse. If you enjoyed the episode, please rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast on Stitcher, Google Play, or the iTunes Store, or just wherever you get your podcasts. You can check out our website at couldbeworsepod.com, follow the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook with the handle @couldbeworsepod, and check out more from your humble and loving hosts on Twitter and Instagram at the handles @magnesiumqueen for Bridget and @Caitlin Obum for me, your good friend Caitlin Obum. Also, we were recently on an episode of Corbin Smith's special Star Wars episode of Take It or Break It, the sports takes game show of your dreams or your nightmares, and it was an extremely good time. So if you've seen The Last Jedi and want to hear a lot about things like BB-8's b-ball career, Luke Skywalker's milk consumption, and trivia that I was so suspicious was trying to trick me that I truly embarrassed myself, give that a good ol' listen. It's a really fun competitive opinionating game that we are blessed to be on for an episode that was in our knowledge wheelhouse. Thank you for listening, and we will have another episode for you in 1 week on Jasper Ford's Shades of Grey. See you then.